Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Scott Gerber is back with us today. He's an ONU law professor. We're talking a little bit about the history of Christmas when it comes to the Puritans. Now, I think a lot of people learned in school that there was a Puritan opposition, obviously, to Christmas. But what was the reasoning? Was it a theological thing? Was it a social thing? They didn't like how we reveled at Christmas time. What was the main beef there?
Well, there were two primary reasons, and they're related. The first is there's no scriptural basis for Christmas in the Bible. And related to that, moral behavior was tied closely to religious behavior, and they thought dancing and having parties and the like on Christmas was sinful.
It's interesting because I read an article too, and after I read your op-ed talking about it, and someone said, well, I wonder why they didn't just try to get you to change the way that you celebrated Christmas. Maybe that was too big of a task because, as you said, they were opposed to, there was a lot of card playing and lascivious nature of things. There was a lot of drinking that went on. Why didn't they try to change what you did or come up with ways, here's how we celebrate the birth of Christ?
Yeah, well, the Pilgrims in Plymouth Colony actually tried to do that, as I mentioned in the op-ed. When the Pilgrims came to Plymouth Colony in 1620, on December 25th, they just went out in the field and worked, and thought about God and all of that way. And then the next year, some folks started saying that they didn't want to work on Christmas Day. And so then the governor explained to him why that was inappropriate. So there wasn't a statute or anything. So they kind of did it through what I call in my book, and this draws a little bit from my book, is through legality. But it was in 1647 that in England, the Parliament passed a statute criminalizing it, and then Massachusetts Bay and Connecticut, the two Puritan colonies in America, also passed statutes outlawing it.
So in theory, if you were caught, I don't know what you would have been doing, drinking or celebrating Christmas in some way, whether it be presents, so you could have been fined for that.
Yeah, 5 shillings, as I recall, was the fine, at least in Massachusetts Bay. So that's a standard fine, yeah.
5 shillings, it's outrageous. Let's talk. What got me, and I read it, and what you had written too, was how late. I assumed it was much earlier when you got into New England that Christmas became a staple, but it was well into the even 1800s before things kind of got back to normal, so to speak.
Yeah, the statute outlawing it was repealed in Massachusetts Bay, but nevertheless, some Puritans still opposed it and disrupted Christmas sermons and church services that the Episcopalians, which are the American version of the Church of England, were conducting in Boston.
Yeah, as you said, as you wrote, they literally broke windows at a church in the early 1700s because people were inside celebrating Christmas. Do you get the sense that the Puritans felt, and I think most historians have disproved this, that there were pagan origins of Christmas or that kind of thing, and that was all disproven over the years. But do you think the Puritans thought that as well? Was that coming into their thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the piece, the name Puritan stems from the group of conservative Protestants who thought that the Church of England was still closely tied in terms of its rituals to the Catholic Church. I'm Catholic, and there's a lot of formal rituals in the Catholic Church, and the Puritans wanted to purge their church from that because they thought that was corrupt and idolatry and all of that. And so Christmas was just another element of that.
I love that you wrapped up your synopsis with the immortal words of Linus from Peanuts Christmas. How did that come into play, and what did he have to say, and how did that play into Christmas?
Yeah, I've always loved that Christmas special. It's the most famous Christmas special ever made, A Charlie Brown Christmas. And at the very end, Charlie Brown cries out, "Doesn't anyone know what the meaning of Christmas is?" And so Linus explains it, and he explains it by quoting the gospel according to Luke, literally. And the network, CBS at the time, had pressured Charles Schulz, who obviously created the Peanuts comic strip, to take it out, and he wouldn't take it out. And people just love it. You could go to YouTube right now, and I went to it just before we came on the air, and see that speech by Linus, and it's just beautiful. And at Christmas time, it's always in my head. And anytime you can work a quote from Charlie Brown into an op-ed, it's a good day. So that's what I did.
I agree. Well, thank you, Dr. Gerber, for telling us about it. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Happy holidays.
Same to you, and we'll be back right after this.